Why in 2024 has street sledding all but become extinct? I don't understand. It's super fun. And these ones here in Norway even have space for your friends. I think the problem is that people seem to be addicted to their new fancy electronic toys and gadgets, instead of good old-fashioned fun. So I think it's about time to bring back some old school fun by upgrading the street sled to 2024. Right, how are we going to modify this street sled into the year 2024? Well, we're simply going to strap some jet engines to it. But before you get too excited, this is not for me. This is going to be for my kids, and we can't exactly strap real jet engines to this thing because so instead we're going to go with a safer option and use some EDF fans that spin at a measly 80,000 RPM. But rather than bore you with the details, I think I'll just get on with the build and explain along the way. What'd I miss? Get this! This guy's gonna try and kill his own son by strapping some jet engines to that thing. I'm gonna need a couple more of these for this shit show. Now if we're gonna power this with EDF turbines, I had to work out how many and how big. So simply using a luggage scale, I worked out that it took about 3.5 kilos to get my son moving from standstill. Then, whilst he was moving, it only took about 1.2. Now I'm no rocket scientist, so I just figure if I double the amount of thrust it takes to go from standstill, that should be enough, and hopefully my son won't die. Now that I ordered all my parts, it was time to start looking at the sled. As you can see, this street sled is looking a little tired and used, and that's because I found it being thrown out on the street. Yeah. Street sledding's so dead in 2024 that people are just throwing these out. So I feel like it's only justified to bring it back to its former glory before we go any further. With our sled fully disassembled, it was now time to clean up all the parts. Starting with the blades and bumper. Once all the rust was removed, it was time to look at our wooden frame. So these parts were pretty weathered, so I did the best I could, but sometimes sanding just sucks. What do you reckon? It looks way nicer, I think. It does have a little bit of character still, because I couldn't get rid of all the weathered look on the wood, but the red looks awesome. However, we do need to strap some EDF turbines to this thing, but they haven't come yet. So instead, we're going to work on a braking system and upgrade the handlebars. All right, how do you stop on snow and ice? Well, I wasn't sure, so I went looking for some inspiration. Now I like the simplicity of this brake on the snow racer, but if you hit any ice, it's absolutely useless. But then I remembered in another life, I was an ice skater. And we'd use a hockey stop if we wanted to stop quickly. What if I combined the two? So I started off by finding an old pair of children's skates. The plan is to make a foot brake that will replicate the angle that you use in a hockey stop. Hey, which one of you bags took my ice skates? Mother. Ah! This is not the end of this, dickhead! Right, where were we? Yeah, the brake. I needed to make something that was going to be able to hold the blade in position. So I found this angle iron and a bit of flat bar. I just began to fabricate from there. Once I'd grinded back my horrible welds and given it a lick of paint, I cut this piece of aluminium deck tread and pop riveted it on. With the blade bolted in place, all I needed was a spring. And this mousetrap had a perfect one. Now before I go test this brake properly, I need to fix the handlebars. With the handlebars now in place, it was time to get this bad boy outside and give it a test. But out of nowhere came a warm spell, which meant we had to leave testing till it got colder again. Well, that sucked. Lucky for us though, these came in the mail. Yeah, baby, let's go! Right, what's the plan with these? One of these goes either side of the chair, but now what we've got to do is find a way to mount these, so I've got a plan. Since it was going to be a while till it got cold again, I thought, why don't I learn Fusion 360 and 3D model the housing to hold the turbines? How hard could it be? Well, not that hard actually. It's kind of intuitive for me. Sorry to disappoint, guys. Yeah, now I just got to send it to the 3D printer. Alright, our 3D parts are finished and they look pretty good. Except when I tried to assemble them. I soon realized that I made some mistakes on designing this and it didn't quite fit the EDF turbine. So we've got to slightly modify this because unfortunately the 3D printer I borrowed had to go back to its owner and we don't have time to print them again. So we just have to make do with what we've got. With a little bit of careful sanding, I managed to get the parts to fit a lot better. But then, in the end, I still needed to quickly print a spacer so that it would fit properly. Next up was the mounting bar for these turbines. So what do you guys think? Meh. Where's the beer holder? Junior man. Beer holder? Really? Oh man, I gotta finish this thing to show you guys. Alright, how do I power these things? Well, simply a big ass battery feeds the speed controller, which then feeds the turbine. But there's a little problem. These things run off servo controllers and I have a thumb throttle. And believe it or not, these don't actually talk together.
Yeah, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you either.
Now, we have a couple of options, but the best option I think is to actually go with an Arduino, because then I can put a safety switch like this in the circuit. So if something goes wrong and the kids get out of control, that pulls off, the engines die, and hey presto, no children are killed, hopefully. With the serial monitor telling us everything was working, supposedly it was time to plug this thing in. Fucking hell. Oh my God! Holy sh**! Yes! Oh my God. Did I closed that door, that opened, right? Ready? Well, it's safe to say that the Jet Street Sled has blown my wife away. And the last thing we needed to do was tidy up the batteries and electronics before we can go and take this thing out and test it properly. At this point, I want to say a big thank you to Thomas from Lightspace Props for 3D printing the last parts for me. What a legend. And a huge thank you to all my patrons, as well as some amazing members at Horten Folkeverksted. Now, let's go street sledding like it's 2024. For those sweet nothings in my ear again?
The engines is drag. It's just like the engine on a airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, ready? Yep.
I don't think it was even meant to do that quick.
So yeah, you didn't even give it full gas. So you went 27. Wow, that's cool.
Daddy, I beat the record.
What'd you get? 32. That's amazing. Here, someone hold it. I'm gonna go first. This is actually pretty sick. Like, this is meant for kids, but this is so fun for adults still. Especially on the ice, man. It's so good. I was looking at you for too long.
Got it on camera.
After I'd had all my fun, I decided to give my friends a go. And it was at that time I realized that this project was more than just bringing back street sledding to 2024. This is about bringing back community, where people that normally wouldn't hang out together come together over a crazy idea like a jet-propelled street sled. Steal my f***ing ice skates.